Hey, welcome back to part 2 of our 90s Batman movies retrospective here on Generation S, and I've got 2 words for you. Bat-Nipples. That's right, so in this episode we are discussing the controversial Joel Schumacher Batman movies. These films, if you recall, took a very different approach to what we know and loved about the Caped Crusader, with neon-colored sets, over-the-top villains, and yes, even Bat-Nipples on the Batsuit. But despite their flaws, these movies still have a devoted fan base, myself included to a degree, and they offer a very unique take on Batman. So join me and Lou as we dive into the world of Batman once again, with Batman Forever and Batman and Robin exploring the highs and lows of these, quite frankly, polarizing films on Generation S.
What is it?
It's time to go back. Welcome.
Hey there, welcome back to Generation S. It is a podcast about growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s. Let me put it to you this way. If you tied a towel around your neck with a clothespin and wore it like a superhero cape back in the day, this podcast is probably for you. I'm Dan Kemp, joined by our resident Mighty Morphin Power Rangers expert, Lou Carnivale.
I didn't know where you were going with that, and I got scared for a moment, but it's okay. I'm like, whoa, where's this going?
Sorry about that. I went off script a little bit there.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We don't need scripts. In fact, we don't have a script for this.
We don't. We really don't.
No,
we don't really ever have scripts. When it's you and I, man, we just talk. Like,
it's good.
I mean, we've known each other for over almost 20 years, so like, we better just be able to talk.
Yes. And thank you for the warm intro about Power Rangers. Eventually, we'll calm down about the Power Ranger stuff. But if you,
I don't know, I kind of like that label for you.
Oh, thank you. If you are a Power Ranger fan, as this is dropping around the 11th, 12th, 13th ish of the month of April, next week, the 19th of April, 2023, is the 30th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show. So there's a lot on our YouTube page about that, previews, little Easter eggs, all that stuff. So if you like that stuff, this is certainly the time to jump over and check out what we have over on the YouTube channel.
Yes, we have a ton of Power Rangers content on there right now. You're really obviously just trying to capitalize on the new special coming out. Very excited for it, by the way. I'm sure you are as well. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. But that is not the main topic of discussion today. Today is part 2 of our 90s Batman movie retrospective. I don't know if it's a retrospective, more of a discussion, really. So last week, we talked about the Tim Burton Batman movies, which for me are the highlight of the Batman movies of the 90s. For you, it really wasn't a lot that you had to offer from a memory standpoint. You didn't really, I mean, you hadn't even seen Batman Returns until just like a couple of years ago. So
correct.
But this week is a little different for you, right?
Yeah, this is the, I don't know if this is the good part, the bad part, the indifferent part, but this is what I really remember seeing. And I think I saw Batman Forever in the theaters, but I know I definitely saw Batman and Robin in the theaters.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So this week is the Joel Schumacher edition of the 90s Batman movies, the Bat-Nipples era, as it were.
Oh boy.
I mentioned in the intro that we're going to talk about Bat-Nipples, and we're going to get there. So what we'll do is we'll go through both movies. I'll read out kind of a plot summary. We'll talk about any kind of factoids about production or behind the scenes. We'll talk about any merchandise tie-ins. Obviously, our memories from watching these movies as kids, and then I'll do the same thing for Batman and Robin, for which I do have a story that I'm not proud of, but I will tell that story today on the podcast. So,
all right.
And you legitimately don't know
no,
what this is.
I don't.
Yeah. So, and you told me, don't tell you before. This is going to be however you react will be a genuine reaction. I promise.
Can't be more awkward than if you tied a towel around your neck and you were a kid. I'm like, ah.
I was going for the superhero vibe.
Hey,
right?
if you're a New York Jets fan, you've already tied a towel around your neck or something like that.
Boy.
I say I got out of the way already. We're done.
There it is.
I'm done.
All
Goodbye.
Right. I don't think you did one last week.
Oh,
I think you skipped a Jets reference.
Maybe.
So if you want to bust out another one for this one to make up for it, you can.
Okay, maybe I will. Okay.
All right, keep that in mind. All right, well, listen, let's start with Batman Forever then. So it came out in 1995, and I wrote up a little plot summary here. So Batman Forever, it's a Batman movie, obviously, about the famous superhero Batman, this time played by Val Kilmer, so no longer played by Michael Keaton. He is obviously trying to stop crime in Gotham City, including the criminal activities of Two-Face, played this time by Tommy Lee Jones. Remember, he was played by Billy D. Williams in the original Batman movie when he was still Harvey Dent. We also have the Riddler, played by Jim Carrey, as they are running rampant in Gotham City. Two-Face, again, formerly known as Harvey Dent, was disfigured with acid, causing him to develop a split personality. The Riddler, also known as Edward Nygma, is a former employee of Wayne Enterprises and is seeking revenge against Bruce Wayne, also known as Batman, for rejecting his invention. After Two-Face kills Dick Grayson's family, Bruce takes the orphan Dick, played by Chris O'Donnell, under his wing as his ward. Dick discovers that Bruce is Batman and demands to join him in crime fighting. Meanwhile, the Riddler and Two-Face commit robberies to finance Nygma's new company and mass-produce his brainwave device, which steals information from users' minds and transfers it into Nygma's mind. The Riddler discovers Bruce's secret identity through all this and blows up the Batcave, shooting Bruce and kidnapping his love interest, Dr. Chase Meridian, played by Nicole Kidman, as well as Dick Grayson / Robin. Bruce recovers and deduces that Nygma is the Riddler. He finally accepts that Robin is his partner and goes to rescue Chase with Robin. In the end, Batman defeats the Riddler and Two-Face, but Edward Nygma is committed to Arkham Asylum, where he becomes completely delusional and claims to be Batman himself. Batman resumes his crusade as Batman, this time with Robin as his partner, as we roll to credits. So, bit of a mouthful there, Lou, but did I miss anything? That's pretty much the highlights, right?
No, it actually sounds like a pretty good movie from the synopsis.
Right? On paper, it's terrific. But let's talk about the actual movie.
And then they hit the... What is that thing he called?
And then the camera started rolling?
Then the camera started rolling.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you up front, like, I know we're supposed to share our thoughts at the end before we, jump into the next movie, but I personally... am a huge fan of Batman Forever, and I don't know if it's because of I love this movie. And
I don't
know. Okay, well then I think we're gonna have a good conversation here. So, and I don't know if it's because of when I saw it. I was 6 or 7. My friend had it, and we watched it at his house, and it was just so cool because I was 7 years old, and it was amazing. It was incredible. So, anyway, it was, the biggest departure here for me that I did notice, I didn't care as much as a kid. I think now I notice more, and I'm maybe a little disappointed. They switched out the Batman actor. You had Michael Keaton for the last 2 movies, swapped out here for Val Kilmer, also known as Mad Mardigan from the movie Willow. Have you ever seen Willow, by the way?
Can't say I have.
Oh my God. Classic 80s Lord of the Rings ripoff movie. It's incredible. Highly recommended if you're ever bored. He's in a ton of stuff though. He's in Top Gun. If you like that, I'm not a huge fan of Top Gun.
Neither am I.
No, okay, thank God, because people get so mad at me when I tell them that I hate Top Gun. And here's the thing: I actually love the sequel that just came out.
I'll tell you what, though, it's a good date movie.
Sure, yeah,
but
I agree.
I wouldn't say, Dan, you coming over? Let's watch Top Gun.
No, I think it's not. Yeah, and there's 80s movies that I will watch. There's a lot of 80s, so it's not like it's because it's an old movie. I just don't like it.
Back to the Future, Ghostbusters,
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yep,
one of my favorite movies of all time. Lethal Weapon, any of those action movies.
Technically, Batman '89.
Batman '89, yeah.
From a certain point of view, yeah.
From a certain. So anyway, back to Batman Forever here. So Val Kilmer has taken over the role of Bruce Wayne in Batman here. First off, what are your thoughts there? How do you feel? I know you don't like the movie, but how do you feel Val Kilmer played into this in his role?
Stale. I think it was very stale. I don't think he was a good Batman or a good Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Where Michael Keaton was good at both, and George Clooney was good at one of them. I think Val Kilmer was the weakest out of the 3 Batmans in this 90s saga, so to speak.
I think the biggest thing I noticed about Val Kilmer as Batman, and again, I like the movie, but I felt that he was too kind of meh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he was really quiet and kind of soft-spoken as Bruce Wayne, and then as Batman, he still didn't really have that kind of gritty intimidation factor. I also feel like part of that is the way they portrayed him in this. He was definitely not meant to be like striking fear into the hearts of criminals, like you had with Michael Keaton, where like criminals were legit scared of him. Here, I mean, he's fighting bad guys. I mean, really, he's fighting henchmen of like Two-Face and the Riddler, whatever. And the fight scenes are fine, but it never feels like he is just an intimidating figure that is, you know, scaring the hell out of criminals in Gotham's underworld. He just doesn't come across as scary. But I don't think that was the point. I also think that, you know, this whole movie was designed to sell toys, and that's very obvious from the aesthetics and the gadgets and the vehicles, and we'll talk more about the merchandise tie-ins, obviously, but I think part of that was to make Batman a more approachable character for kids' sake, because the biggest complaint with Batman Returns was it was too dark, it was too scary, it was very controversial, and so they were going in a very different direction, which is why I think Tim Burton departed, because like I think there was a quote, I'm gonna paraphrase it, but it was like they wanted to make a Batman movie that was not my Batman movie, and so they basically said, well, Tim, this is you're welcome to stick around for this, but this is what it's gonna be like. And I think he kind of saw the writing on the wall and was like, all right, well, I'm out. And so because of that, Michael Keaton was like, well, if Tim Burton's gone, then I'm gone. And so that's why they had to recast. They weren't going to get rid of Michael Keaton. They just Tim Burton. But Keaton was like, well, I'm walking if he's gone. So that's what happened there.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. And that's also why I dislike this movie the most, is because they gradually, well, Batman 89 to Returns, I feel like it actually got more dark. It got more weird.
Yes.
And you mentioned that the sponsors in our last episode, you touched on McDonald's going like, what the hell is this? Which is why they came out with this, which was that it was the in-between.
Yep.
Because Batman and Robin knows what it is. It's stupid. This doesn't know what it is, in my opinion. And that's why and it took me a long time, like, everybody hates Batman and Robin. But the thing is about Batman and Robin, and I'm not going to go too deep into it right now because we're going to get to that in a moment, it doesn't pretend to be something it's not. It's a throwback to the Adam West-esque silly shenanigans Batman. This doesn't know what it is. Is it like Batman 89? It's certainly not like Batman Returns, but we don't want to go back to Adam West, and it's just, like you said, meh.
Do you know? Okay, so, well, because here's the thing, too. This is considered a sequel to those first two movies. Like, by and large, it is canon in this universe. Because people are like, well, maybe this is a reboot. But no, because you have the actor that played Alfred is the same, Michael Gough. You have Pat Hingle playing Commissioner Gordon again. There is a subtle reference to Catwoman at one point, where Dr. Meridian is telling Batman, like, well, what kind of women are you into? You know, do I need vinyl and a whip to get your attention or something like that? So there obvious reference to Catwoman there. So it's a sequel, but I read this somewhere. I was probably on Reddit years ago, and it honestly, when I rewatched it again, this perspective really helped me enjoy it even more. They said, okay, picture this as if they rebooted the 1966 Adam West Batman set in modern times with modern special effects. And it honestly, it just made it so much better. I was like, okay, I'm not taking this seriously, and I had a lot more fun with it. And I liked it before, but I think I like it even more now that I look at it as kind of a soft reboot of the 1960s Batman. Yeah,
it's exactly that. If you go into it with no expectations, it's okay.
Yeah,
but if
you're expecting a successor to Batman Returns, this is not it.
Yeah, and that's. I feel like there was another movie we talked about the Ghostbusters, all those, and we had touched on the reboots with the ladies in it. See what I said there? I didn't say the ladies movie. I said movie with the ladies.
There it is.
Good broadcasting there, Lou. If you watch the reboot with the ladies in it as a standalone, it's not bad. But if you tie it all together and you know what came before it, and then also in later years you know what comes after it, you go, this is not it. This is not good.
Yeah,
same thing with this.
Yeah,
not even comparing the Dark Knight, because that's a whole nother ball game.
Oh God, yeah.
Just looking at Batman and Robin, and go, okay, well that's where they went, but this is the midway point.
Exactly, and it's a kind of a weird middle stage where, again, for me as a kid, I loved it because it was I like the bright, colorful. I like the kind of the change. You know what I mean? But like as an adult, I understand why people just
money,
quite frankly, shat all over it. Yeah,
it's all about the money.
And it is. It's about selling toys. And so, so before we get into the merch, because I want to talk about the merch, a couple more things I want to touch on with the movie itself. One, we talked about Batman. What were your thoughts on some of the other characters? So like Two-Face, what were your thoughts?
I liked Two-Face. I thought it was a very good version. Tommy Lee Jones is an excellent actor. The older I get, the more I appreciate his work.
Yep.
For this type of Batman movie, again, being that in between, they did, I think, a very good job with Two-Face. The way he looked, the way he spoke, the character. I thought it was very good. It was interesting. I felt like the violence was toned down, but the sexuality was toned up with his two ladies, Sugar and Spice, correct?
Yep.
Maybe?
Mm-hmm.
So that's typical American movies is, no, I'm sorry, it's not. I worded that wrong.
Kind of the opposite.
It's not
European.
typical. Yeah, it's not typical American movies. More violence, less sex. It's more sex, less violence. So
yeah,
I guess that's really what the studios wanted. Two-Face, I thought was very good, and probably my favorite character in that movie is Two-Face.
So my only thing, because I will agree with you that I thought he looked great. I really liked his whole, whatever, for lack of a better word, vibe.
Yeah, good word. Good
my only
word.
concern, there it is, yeah. My only concern is that by the end, not at first, but by the end of the movie, he had kind of basically turned into another version of the Joker in a lot of his antics. And so, and quite frankly, I feel the same way about the Riddler in this movie as well, as I felt like they were basically both like Joker knockoffs more than their own. And because especially if you know the comics or like even the animated series that had come out by this point, all of these characters were very unique and individual. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this movie, I just felt like they were both trying to be slapstick, goofy villains like the Joker, and there really wasn't much, departing from that. And again, all this from somebody who enjoys the movie, but I just, and again, I guess the way you put it, for what this movie is and what they were going for, I think they were a pretty perfect portrayal. Like, again, with Two-Face, I mean, the dude's a psycho. He's a split personality, crazy person that ruthlessly murders people and shoots them in the head. You can't do that in this movie. And so I think they had to take it in a different direction. So I have to respect the direction they took. I just, Two-Face is one of my personal favorite Batman villains in any medium. Mm-hmm. And so I know how awesome he can be. And this was unfortunately not it, but for what it was, I understand. Same thing with Riddler, though. Riddler was always kind of a very cerebral, well-spoken, basically a super genius nerd that can outwit Batman, or at least try to. Whereas here, you had a little bit of that at first, and then again, as the story progresses, he just turns into some other weird. It's Jim Carrey acting like Jim Carrey. So,
you took the words right out of my mouth. I was waiting to say that. Is Tommy Lee Jones portraying Two-Face and Jim Carrey / Ace Ventura in a Riddler costume. It's basically just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey. It's just not.
But is that what people wanted back then? Maybe they did, because the dude was on a hot streak.
He
just made like The Mask. He made Ace Ventura 1 and 2. He made Dumb and Dumber. So like when people saw him, I mean, I think that's what they wanted to see. Yeah, exactly.
Kinda
so
like
he did his job.
Kind of like Vince Vaughn. He's a very one-directional, one-trick pony.
Yeah,
it's just them being
Vince Vaughn.
Them. I mean,
exactly.
Who the hell am I to knock it?
No, if it works, man. And it's funny is because we know. I mean, I have. I don't know about you, but I've seen Jim Carrey in movies where he acts his ass off and he's fantastic and he's not slapsticky. You know what I mean? But at
Sonic
the time,
the Hedgehog.
I mean, he was great in Sonic the Hedgehog, but that was almost a return to form for the slapstickness.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like serious. Like, did you ever see The Truman Show?
Yes. Oh, great movie.
A fantastic movie.
Yeah.
But so he can act. We know he can act, but I think here they want him to be Jim Carrey because that's what people were going to pay to see. So fair, it's fair.
It's
fair
very
enough.
90s, but it doesn't age well.
No, absolutely not, especially with what's come since then, kind of like you said with the Ghostbusters movies.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Robin?
The portrayal it was good by Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah.
The ladies love him. Good looking dude.
I think that's why they cast him, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, no doubt.
Not a bad actor or anything.
Yeah,
but,
the outfit was that was awesome. It's still to me the definitive Robin outfit.
Really?
Yeah, I like that.
And it drew a lot of controversy back then.
I love it. I think it's awesome.
No, I think it's well. Listen, we're talking about suits. You want to talk about like? Are you okay? Are you upset that they put nipples on their suits?
I mean,
does it distract you? Because I'm
not
going to be honest with
really.
you. I didn't really know it was a big controversy until I read about it years later because it never bothered me as a kid. And what does that mean for us? I don't know. But like, it didn't offend me.
It didn't bother me because I was a kid.
Yeah.
It really didn't bother me at all. I didn't really give two hoots about that. I was all about the Robin outfit because I grew up with Robin in the tidy whities, so to speak.
Yeah, little short shorts.
Yeah, which I thought was a little weird. But
yeah.
That was an awesome outfit, which I'm looking at right now. It's fantastic. And also the Batmobile was awesome too.
Oh my God, yeah. So we didn't even talk about this. So the Batmobile, definitely it's different than the Tim Burton ones, but it's very much, you can tell, inspired by it in terms of the overall shape. So it's still got the long body. It's got the kind of the pointy middle part that's in the center. It's got the two wings on the sides, but this time it's got a top like middle wing that it really serves no purpose. Honestly, it just looks really cool.
It does.
And then in the I don't know how you would call it, describe it, but like kind of like in the chassis of the car, it's got like cutouts where you see like blue lighting, and it looks badass. Yeah, I mean, I guess it looked perfect in that movie. It's one of my favorite Batmobile designs. I actually had the toy as a kid, and I loved it because you could convert the what do you call it, the little center crest there. It actually folds out into two pieces, so it's like a little mini set of wings, I guess, supposed to make it more aerodynamic when it goes down the road.
Yep, it was cool.
I love the Batmobile. I thought it was very well, one of my favorite things of the movie.
The one you mentioned it before. One of the things I really liked about the movie was just it was different. Obviously, it wasn't a dark, gritty Gotham. It was this bright light. I take it for what it's worth. It was different, but we got that cool looking Batmobile. I do like Robin's outfit. Don't like the mask though. I will say the mask is kind of just very generic.
Yeah, but it's Robin. I mean, what are you gonna do with Robin's mask?
Well, we'll get to that in Batman and Robin. He actually gets a cooler looking mask.
All right, fair enough.
But
so yeah,
the toys of them too were just phenomenal. I
was going to say let's talk merchandise here. So I touched on it with the Batmobile. I actually had the Batmobile and I had the Bat boat as a kid. I'm
glad you brought that up because I had them too. And this is the one. This was probably out of the four movies, the one I had the most toys of. But apparently, again, I didn't know I had Catwoman and Penguin from Batman Returns. So that's how weird it was. But I did have the Batmobile and I had the Batwing, which the wings came off and you had the Bat boat. So that was awesome.
See, I just had the Bat boat. It didn't convert into the Bat.
Really?
I thought maybe it did then. I'm trying to remember. So I have to look it up. I remember so what it was the Bat boat would fold out and then it was like a weird bat. I don't know it, but it wasn't the Batwing. It was a different, but it was turned into like a regular vehicle that rolled.
Really? You must have had something different.
I'm trying to remember. You might be right, man. Honestly, I remember the Batmobile for sure, though. That one was awesome. But I'm trying to remember the Bat because I remember I definitely had the boat. But what did it convert into? I feel like they would have
into like a little submarine boat thingy.
Kind of, but then I feel like the Batwing, the plane would have been separate. Like they wouldn't have made that a 2-in-1. They would have milked you for every penny.
No, so they didn't. I'm literally looking at I'm looking at the box online right now. It's on eBay.
Okay.
Brand new, sealed for $199. So there you go.
All right.
It's the Batwing, and the wings come off, and you have the boat. Wings drop off into power drive position, is what they say on the packaging. Okay. And then battle cockpit detaches to become two vehicles in one. So it's actually three.
So I'm looking at the Bat boat. Here we go. Yeah, I might have actually found that. Oh, no, this is different. This one's only $42.
Made by Kenner.
Yeah, Kenner made all the Batman toys. They did all the DC stuff. Yeah, the Bat boat converted into some kind of weird vehicle. Let me see if I can read it here. Oh, converts from racing boat to land attack vehicle. Oh. So it's not the Batwing. It's a separate vehicle. And then the Bat, because they had different shapes. But yeah, so that makes sense. So the Batwing I did not have. I had the Bat boats. Again, it was watching it as an adult, all the stuff they introduced into that movie were painfully obviously going to be merchandise, which is fine, but the figures, man, they were terrific. I had Two-Face, I had the Riddler from the ending scene of the movie, because he has a different outfit at the end. Remember, it's more sparkly, and he's got the
you
crazy
had that
hair.
one? Okay.
So I had that Riddler. I'm trying to think what I might have had a couple Batmans, but I remember the one I had was the one where like it was Bruce Wayne, and then you would put the bat suit on him, like his head would push down, and then you put the Batman costume on him. And then it was like Bruce Wayne in like a tuxedo or something. I'm trying to remember, but I remember I had that, and then I did have another one that was a Batman, it was like an underwater Batman where like a thing would pop up in his front chest plate to like he could breathe into it supposedly if he went underwater. If that was what it was supposed to be. Like
I actually just because I'm scrolling right now as you're talking with these figures.
Yeah,
I've never seen the deluxe talking Riddler with a sparkly outfit. I've never seen that before.
Oh yeah, yep. So I don't know if mine talked. I think mine was legit just a figure, but it had that lighter kind of pale green outfit that was like a onesie. I never had a Robin figure, unfortunately. It was just Batman. But I remember, and this was like so I had a Two-Face action figure. It was like the main basic Two-Face action figure, but it came with Two-Face's coin.
Yep, I see that right now. And the gun was permanently in his hand.
It was permanently in his hand.
I loved that. That was such a cool feature.
I had that coin for years. I'm talking into my 20s. I held on to that coin because I thought it was the coolest thing ever because it looked like a movie coin. It was the coin from the movie. It was a prop almost. And I thought it was the cool. I don't know where it is now. It's long gone now, unfortunately, but it was the coolest thing ever. And I would flip it all the time. I would practice flipping the coin because he did it in the movie. That's where I learned how to flip a coin. And it was just the coolest thing ever. So oh my god, it was great. The toys were, again, for a 7-year-old,
they were
on
great.
Point. Like
they were absolutely great.
It's one of the few birthdays I remember because I got so many Batman toys.
So I'm looking through right now. There's a lot. Thank you, eBay dude, for putting up your lot of Batman Forever toys, because now I can scroll through them all really quickly. So I had that Two-Face that you had. I think looking at this, I think it's the only Two-Face they made. Looks like they made two, maybe three. I can't tell if it's a custom one that somebody made. But I had the generic Riddler. He had like this backpack thingy on, and it would like, not a claw would come out, but like a halo, and it would like supposedly like you would have it clutch onto the heroes or around their head. So I had that. It was green, but I see a variance in black and green, like its colors. But it could be somebody just did it as a custom. Didn't realize, but the Robin and Batman I had were a 2-pack. They were called let me get closer to get my eyeballs on. Guardians of Gotham 2-pack. Batman and Robin.
Interesting. So you had that one.
I did, and then I had this one. I can't bring it up. It's really tiny. It's like a polar vortex looking Batman kind of thing. Let me see if I can see it. Okay. Bear with me. Ice Blade Batman. Seems like that was a little foreshadowing for things. But
are we sure that's Batman Forever?
Yeah, it's in the Batman Forever lot of toys, and it's got there it is. Yep. The question mark on it. Yeah, it's an ice. I guess for the end of the movie, but again, half these toys you don't even see in it. That was one of my favorite Batman toys ever because it was so different. It had the Arctic blue and the white. I really like that. Yeah. This was probably toy wise the Batman movie that I was into the most, between the Batmobile, the Batwing. The boat apparently too. I had the Riddler. I had Two-Face. Apparently,
I just found another one that I had too. It was the Fire Guard Batman. I remember that one. It was a red suit.
Oh yeah, I saw that one online too. Yeah. So good amount of toys. They were good toys.
A ton of toys. Yes. Oh, they were. I mean, for a kid, they were great. For parents, it was a nightmare. So I'm sorry, Mom. Actually, I don't think my parents bought them for me. Again, I got them from like friends for birthday. So
I have no memories of actually getting them. I just had them. It's weird how sometimes you remember getting things, and we'll get to that in Batman and Robin. One of the things I got, but these things I don't remember. I just got them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. So let's, we talked about toys. Let's talk about really the only other thing I remember there's two other things. So before we get to the video games, because
oh my god, I completely forgot about that. Why'd you have to bring that up?
Because we got to talk about it. But before I get to that, I want to talk about the one other merchandise thing that I remember that I owned for many years after it came out. Do you remember the McDonald's glass coffee mugs?
I have one. I bought it at a garage sale over the summer.
Yeah. That's
and it's
amazing.
Just the generic Batman one?
That's the one I had as a kid.
I had the Riddler as a kid.
Oh, I wish I could. I feel like they're not that expensive. Like I could probably go on eBay and get the set, but it's probably way more than it needs to be. You know what I mean? But oh god, I remember because it was the McDonald's tie-in. They had some really cool stuff.
It was that was cool. Everybody's gonna remember that. Let me look it up. Let me see how much it goes for on eBay. Let's see here. You want to take a guess?
Oh, for the full set?
Yeah, just for one.
Oh, just for one? I mean, $20,
give or take. I see some for like 15 up to 30. The Two-Face one seems to be the most common.
Here, yeah, I just found a set of 4. They're 25 each, or if you buy 3 or more, it's like 22 each or whatever. So
those were awesome
because they were like they were high quality glass. It wasn't plastic. They were nice.
Boy, did they do a little bit better with McDonald's this time.
Oh well, yeah. Well, again, I think they had to kind of earn that trust back, and when they, I'm sure they were probably actively, not just McDonald's, but I'm sure any other toy companies, whatever, were actively involved in like the pre-production of the film, going, okay, well here, all right, this is what this is, all right, cool, well, let's make this. This is something he would wear, because they were kind of able to see. Whereas I think they were kind of snowed by Batman Returns. They had no idea. They just trusted that it was going to be a good movie to market to kids and merchandise with. Whereas this, I think they were definitely a lot more hands-on. Like, no, we need to see what you're doing here so that we can make toys, and that's what they did. So, and honestly, it gets worse as far as even more obvious with Batman and Robin, but we will get to that shortly. Before we do, let's talk about the Batman Forever video game, because
it sucks. The end.
I listen. We don't agree on the movie itself, but we both agreed those games suck.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, let me look. I'd have to look it up. So like, I know they made one for Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. They were basically the same games. Mm-hmm. Did they make any other ones though?
Maybe in some research I came across it, but when I see it, I get angry and I want to punch the wall. So I don't know. I can speak of, well, you're taking a gander. I'll speak about my experience. I feel like I need to lay down for a therapy session about this game. Because I had, played the Batman Forever game, I thought on Genesis, but I had the realization in our last episode, I played on Super Nintendo. You start left, you move right, you jump, you punch bad guys, the end. Not complicated. So let's do it again. They had the graphics of Mortal Kombat where it was like, actual actors in suits and stuff. So it looked really cool, but it played like Mortal Kombat. And imagine taking Mortal Kombat back in the day and making it a side-scrolling game. Ironically, Mortal Kombat does that on the N64. Sub-Zero Mythology is a terrible game. So imagine doing it early. And it looked like a good game. When you were looking at it, it looked like it was a good game. The graphics were good. It was the right kind of tone for it. The sound effects were good for Super Nintendo. But then you picked up the controller, and just trying to figure out the grappling hook was a nightmare. You had it select, and then at the same exact time or slightly earlier, I don't remember. I don't want to remember. It was just bad. You didn't know what to do.
So apparently, while you were discussing that, I did look it up. There was an arcade game version of it as well. Like, it was in the arcades, and they ported that over to PlayStation 1, apparently.
Really?
And then you had the... it's not called the arcade game, but then you had the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions as well. I'm looking at screenshots of the arcade. I haven't looked up videos, but it looks basically like the same concept as the ones that came out of Genesis and Super Nintendo. Yeah. Maybe a little bit more polished, brighter, bigger screen, but in general, it looks to be about the same. So I got to assume the reception. I'm looking up the Wikipedia. The critical reception of it was god awful. So
it's essentially Mortal Kombat, just moving left to right.
And up and down, which was the problem. Yeah, it was, because you had to go up to different levels. It was not built. It was a Mortal Kombat game that was not played like a Mortal Kombat game. So it was, honestly, it was god awful. So not a huge fan. It was really hard. It was just, you didn't know where to go. Yeah. All right.
The coolest thing about it I liked was I could play as Robin. It was something different.
Well, and then didn't they have like a fighting mode where you could like fight each other like Mortal Kombat?
I believe so, but I have not touched that game in forever. It's one of those games that, for me at least, when I was going through my parents' stuff and I found my Super Nintendo. Yeah. It was one of the few games I didn't even put in the system.
Oh, wow.
Donkey Kong Country, right away. Super Mario World, right away. Mario World. Street Fighter, even though it's outdated, everything went. It was one of the few games I just didn't. There's no nostalgia for it for me. It was just not fun. And then there are things that you play and they're good and they don't age well. Be like, oh, well, it didn't age well, but it's still kind of fun. Like Star Fox. It did not age well. But you can still kind of go back and go, oh, I really don't want to play it, but I can understand why it was good. Right. Batman Forever wasn't good then, and it's sure as hell not good now.
No, that's absolutely not. 100% agree. All right. Any closing thoughts on Batman Forever before we move on to Batman and Robin?
It's unique because it's the in-between. I liked the graphic of that question mark. Yeah. I don't know what... I mean, it's not really marketing because it's the Riddler, but just the way they produced it in all of their marketing was very, very good. I'm still drawn to it. Just that green question mark with the laser show that they do in it and on the merchandise. It's like forever etched in my brain, the question mark with the Batman logo underneath it. Yep. So very good. It has a certain place in my heart, but it's not the best. I will say I do enjoy it more than Batman Returns. Okay. To watch. Now, if it's weird for me to say this, I enjoy it more than Batman Returns because of the nostalgia. But I can also say that Batman Returns is a better movie. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. Absolutely. No, it's nostalgia is a different kind of like scale by which you judge something. Like there's I'll talk about the Ninja Turtles series, the old cartoon. The nostalgia factor is high, 10 out of 10. Is the show any good? No, it's terrible.
It's not a 10 out of 10. It's like a 20 out of 10 for you.
For nostalgia? Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. It's 20 out of 10. But objectively speaking, it's a terrible show. Like, I can't watch more than 2 or 3 in a row without going, okay, my eyes are melting right now. This is terrible. Yep. So, no, absolutely. I think Batman Returns is a better movie, but I think Batman Forever has a better nostalgia factor for me personally as well, because I saw it at the age I saw it and all the toys and so yeah, it to me very, very fond memories.
All right, let's move on.
Let's do it.
That's my bad Arnold voice.
That was a great Arnold voice. Don't be so hard. All right, so let's talk Batman and Robin, coming out in 1997. Batman, this time played once again by a different actor, George Clooney, and his partner Robin, once again played by Chris O'Donnell, try to stop Mr. Freeze, played by the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger, who freezes Gotham City to save his dying wife, as well as Poison Ivy, played by Uma Thurman, a seductive villain who aims to take over the world using plants.
That's stupid.
As Batman and Robin work to stop Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, they also struggle with their different approaches to fighting crime. They are new partners, and so they're trying to figure things out there. Additionally, in addition to that, Alfred, Bruce Wayne's loyal butler, once again played by the fantastic Michael Gough for his 4th outing as Alfred, becomes ill and is dying from the same disease that is affecting Mr. Freeze's wife. In the end, Batman and Robin, with the help of Batgirl, that's right, we got a 3rd hero played by Alicia Silverstone, also the niece of Alfred in a plot twist, manages to stop Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy along with her henchman Bane, played by the late WCW wrestler Jeep Swenson.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Jeep Swenson. Remember him from 1993?
I do. He probably fought Hogan a couple of times.
He might have. Who knows?
What year was he in WCW?
It was like the early 90s. It was right before this movie came out, I think. It was like the pre-Monday Night Wars era, I think.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Anyway, so Batman, Robin, and Batgirl in brand new outfits take over, stop Mr. Freeze from taking over, from freezing the city. Mr. Freeze at the end is helped by Batman, who says, listen, Victor, I'm going to help your wife. We're going to do this together. You just got to go serve your time. So he ends up serving time in the prison, where he is once again met up with Poison Ivy, who, by the way, forgot to mention this, actually tried to kill Mr. Freeze's wife earlier in the film, at which point Mr. Freeze finds out and goes, hell no, this bitch is mine. This bitch is toast.
There you go.
You like that? Yeah. And
see, now the synopsis for Batman Forever is still better than this.
Yes. So, and because that's basically it. We then roll to credits. I didn't go into too many details on Bane and Batgirl because obviously they're kind of the weakest part and really didn't need to be in the movie at all. Quite frankly.
They didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't.
So, all right. Well, listen. Let's go through the characters then. So, I feel like we need to reassess Batman because once again the actor was recast. I think this time because Val Kilmer proved to be apparently very difficult to work with behind the scenes, and Joel Schumacher was like, "Hell no, get me somebody else." So they brought in Mr. George Clooney, who I will say has in the top 5 chins of all time when it comes to Batman.
Yeah, he is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you mentioned that earlier.
At least in the 90s,
yeah,
he was Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He did what he wanted. He hooked up with who he wanted to. Hooked up with Stacy Keibler.
That's right.
Does whatever he wants. So when I said earlier, there was one aspect of George Clooney being in Batman and Robin that was good. It was just the Bruce Wayne because he was believable. Because Jim Carrey was just being Jim Carrey and being the Riddler. George Clooney was just being George Clooney, and he was Bruce Wayne.
Yes. So,
for the most part.
I was just going to say, he's a terrible Batman. But he knows
he's a terrible Batman.
I think he's very self-aware that he's terrible. He's gone on to apologize for this movie like countless times in interviews. And listen, George, you don't have to apologize for this movie. Like, you did your part, you took a paycheck, and that's it. It's fine. I don't think
would have done it.
I don't think
he would have done it.
Oh, 100%. And I don't think he was the reason the movie sucks, like by a long shot. You know what I mean?
A little bit.
I mean, kind of, but the plot itself sucks. Like, I don't care who's Batman. The plot of the movie is terrible. So let's talk about the Batsuit. So it goes back to, so like by the end of Batman Forever, we had a crazy looking, big old bat emblem, like armor. Like, it was basically, again, designed to sell toys. So you had a new Batsuit. We are back to more of a traditional kind of vibe here. More of a blue hue, though. I think the whole suit is like a dark blue versus black this time.
Are you talking about the suit in the beginning where they're playing ice hockey with, like, the Broad Street Bullies with Philadelphia Flyers, or at the end?
No, at the beginning. Yeah, we'll talk about the end suit because that one's it's something
that actually legitimately does look like a toy. Instead of like, we will make toys and tweak the outfit, they go, no, let's actually take that toy and put it in the movie.
Yeah, which I got to give him props because I actually had that toy and I loved it. So, because it was in the movie. But no, so it's the one in the beginning where it's all one color, but it's like a bluish hue this time. It's not full black.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm looking at it right now. It's it does have like a little bit of a blue hue, but for that movie, it was probably an undertone because they're fighting Mr. Freeze.
That could be. Yeah,
the suit is around ice and
of course, returning once again, Bat-Nipples are back.
Bat-Nipples.
Yes.
I do like this Robin outfit also because it feels like it's I felt like they were going towards them breaking up, and you were going to get a Nightwing type character if they ever made a fifth movie of this. Yeah, the outfit does look like it would be a Nightwing outfit.
Just
really
a different
cool
color. Because Nightwing has the blue emblem that goes along the front and the shoulders. This is red because it's red for Robin. I would agree. I think this Robin suit overall is better than the Batman Forever one. Mask and everything.
The mask 100%. The outfit is, oh my God, I just looked at the one at the end of the movie. Sorry, it looks like he's wearing a jockstrap on the outside. Wow, that's really bad. I can't get it out of my head now.
Yeah.
I like it because it looked like it was a natural progression towards him being Nightwing, and he actually mentions Nightwing in, I believe, in Forever. I need a name. Batboy, Nightwing, blah, blah, blah. Like, didn't get it as a kid. Now I'm like, he said it.
He said the thing.
He said that thing, the thing with the thing. I liked it. I liked the outfits of the little bit of a blue hue. Didn't bother me. The Robin outfit in the beginning was fantastic. The outfits at the end, I don't know if you want to discuss that now or actually at the end.
Let's do it, yeah, because so Batman, Robin, and Batgirl all have pre-end scene outfits. We've talked about Batman's and Robin's. They're relatively inoffensive, and Robin's is pretty cool. I think Batgirl's is pretty much the same. It's cookie cutter, it's whatever. It's more leather than armor because it's a girl and they're not supposed to wear armor, apparently, at least back in the 90s. So who knows? I do notice, of course, her outfit is conspicuously absent of any kind of bat nipples, though.
Yeah.
That's where they draw the line.
So no bat nipples on Batgirl and jockstrap outside for Robin.
Yeah.
And, geez, Batman looks like he has looks like Wolverine slashed his legs. It's just like 3 or 4 slash marks on his eye. They're weird looking. I don't know.
That's the thing. So like they were supposedly, Mr. Freeze steals this big giant diamond and like freezes all of Gotham, and so they have to put on these special like ice resistant suits, and they just happen to be super loud and gaudy and covered in like white lightning bolts basically. And yeah, I mean they're god awful. They're terrible. And they're action figure costumes through and through. That's the only reason they were made, and they look terrible. I think the least offensive would be Batgirl's, because they just kind of changed the emblem color and changed her mask to silver. But again, good luck with camouflaging at that point. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It makes sense. The Batgirl outfit probably makes the most sense out of all 3 of those.
Yeah.
But there is an outfit in this I really do like.
What's that?
And Mr. Freeze.
Well, we haven't even talked about the villains yet. Let's do that, because I agree. I want to. So Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. At this point, the Batman animated series had come out, and I think they even had already released Sub-Zero, which is like, or not Sub-Zero, or Heart of Ice, which was like the Emmy Award-winning episode of Batman the Animated Series, all about Mr. Freeze. He becomes a very tragic character that hadn't existed in the comics before. Like he was in the comics, but he didn't have a backstory really. Whereas this kind of gave him like a tragic villain story that they continued with, technically speaking, for Batman and Robin, but it's played by Arnold, and I mean it's Arnold.
Then the cameras started rolling.
So, all right, what are your overall thoughts on Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze? All kidding aside.
Well, all the kidding aside, I googled Batman and Robin Mr. Freeze, and the third image that comes up is like a still image of him looking at the diamond.
Yeah.
And he just looks utterly ridiculous.
Okay, yeah. He's wearing like big fluffy bunny slippers and a bathrobe.
It's so over the top that I can't hate it, because it's not trying to be something it's not.
Correct.
And that was my issue with Batman Forever. I'm going to say it one last time. It was the in-between. I get it, but man, I couldn't take it serious.
But it wanted you to. It was asking you to take it seriously.
Yes.
Whereas here, no.
No, we're stupid and we're goofy, and it's great. Arnold is not a good Victor Freeze.
No, I
Victor
agree.
Freeze. He is a good, jokey, throwback Mr. Freeze.
Yes.
And he's big enough that armor looks intimidating. Mr. Freeze is supposed to be, based on the animated series and moving forward as the foundation for this character, he's supposed to be a big, hulking-esque character in this armor. The armor was freaking awesome.
Yes. I would say probably the best outfit in the entire movie was Mr. Freeze's armor.
I think it's the best armor Mr. Freeze has ever worn, period.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of the fishbowl kind of thing.
Yeah, that was the only thing because again, it was. You're saying you like this more than the fishbowl classic look that he usually is portrayed as. Yes,
I do. I like this, and I love the animated series, but that looks very generic.
Yeah.
This actually looks like scientific, almost Doctor Doom-esque kind of armor. It looks like legitimate armor, and I really like it. I've always liked it. In Arkham City, the video game, it's kind of like this. It's big, hulking, real armor, as opposed to just I'm in a Sub-Zero suit with a fishbowl over my head.
Right. Yeah. No, this one it looks like an actual outfit that you would wear to, and you see like the blue tubes running around it. It's
awesome.
It's designed to keep him cool, right? That's the whole thing, is that he can't be in normal temperatures.
There you did there.
You see what I did there? Yeah. You like that?
Yeah. It was awesome. And then the camera started rolling.
Well, there it is. Yeah. So, all right, Mr. Freeze, I think we both agree. Thumbs up, highlight of the film for us.
For good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
He's the highlight of this movie.
He is 100% the highlight. Let's talk about Poison Ivy. What were your thoughts?
I think she looks. Uma Thurman looks gorgeous in this.
Yes.
I say that because I had a crush on her back in the day. Only in this.
Really?
Only in this, yeah. I thought Poison Ivy I thought she looked very pretty in this role back in the day. Still think I'm looking at a photo of her in Freeze right now. I like gray characters, and both of these villains are gray characters. So
yeah.
Maybe that's why I identify more to this than Two-Face and Riddler. Her outfits were pretty cool. I thought Uma Thurman, it was funny. She talked like a old news reporter, like somebody's
what's that transatlantic accent? Yeah, that old timey like Casablanca. I think like Casablanca, black and white movie female.
Yes. So I like that. I thought it was interesting. I thought she did a good job too. Again, for what they were given.
Right.
It's not a masterpiece. It's not a career defining role. But take it for what it's worth that this movie is a joke. It's not that bad. I thought the outfits and the way she portrayed it were not bad, but then when you get to the other bad villain character, and yeah,
well, especially So let's So I think we both agree Poison Ivy was fine. She was good. Probably the best portrayal we're going to get of Poison Ivy, unless they go super drastic with her in a future movie. But such is not the case with the third villain, and I use the term villain very loosely because he's basically just a giant henchman. He's not. I mean, he's supposed to be a supervillain, but Bane in this was very, very, very different from the comics and from obviously the future. From everything.
It was
so
terrible. Absolutely terrible.
So let me just paint a picture for those who don't know who Bane is. Bane is a very large, imposing, but also highly intelligent villain. He is essentially kind of a criminal underlord type of person that can not only outsmart Batman, but he can beat the shit out of him too. He's very strong. He's broken Batman's back. In my opinion, he's one of Batman's greatest threats. He's the only guy that's truly physically bested Batman in a one-on-one fight. And in this, he is an idiot. There's
no other way to put it.
No, he's a dude, some random guy from prison that gets pumped full of steroids. Basically, becomes
it's the 90s. It's the 90s. So.
Pumped
could have been Mark McGuire underneath that helmet. I don't know.
It could have been, but it was Jeep Swimson. And so he doesn't really say anything. He's got like a 3-word vocabulary. He walks around lumbering as Poison Ivy's bodyguard, basically. He's basically, he's nothing. He's just a giant. He's like Frankenstein's monster. That's probably the best way to describe it. And he's strong, obviously, but he doesn't ever fight Batman. He only fights Robin and Batgirl. That's like their little secondary villain that they got to deal with. Actually, technically, Batgirl fights Poison Ivy, and then Robin fights Bane. So I guess maybe that's why they had to bring him in, because they needed to have 3 villains for the 3 heroes so they could sell more toys. And so we get this terrible version of Bane that is nothing like what he was in the comics or the animated series, or what he would become again in The Dark Knight Rises, where he was portrayed by Tom Hardy in one of my favorite portrayals. Actually, I mentioned Two-Face. I got to say Bane is, like, as far as Batman villains, Bane and Two-Face are easily in my top 5.
And it's interesting that you say that, and Poison Ivy and Freeze are among my top.
Yeah, I would even say Mr. Freeze would be in there too. Probably not Poison Ivy. I don't really care about Poison Ivy. I mean, she's obviously, I know, right? It's just, she's okay. She was great in this movie, but not one of my favorite Batman villains. So, but yeah, Bane was awful, and I don't think you'll disagree with me on that.
I think out of all 4 of these movies, he is the worst portrayal of any major character.
Yes.
And I will even say that goes to characters you don't see a tremendous amount of. Commissioner Gordon, Vicky Vale, I was going to say Lando Calrissian. Help me here.
The other Harvey Dent?
Harvey Dent pre-Two-Face. I think Bane is the absolute worst of any character.
It's the worst.
You see in this.
He's awful. So, yeah, shame on them, because he was terrible, and I'll never forgive them for what they did to Bane.
Now, do you prefer this Bane or the Bane that talks like this?
Oh, no, I definitely prefer Tom Hardy's Bane. Yeah, absolutely. You mean Darth Vader, Sean Connery? Yeah, I definitely prefer that one.
And the way he beats up, you were talking to the listeners about how Bane is supposed to be able to beat up Batman. That's how it's supposed to happen.
Yes.
In The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, if you've seen The Dark Knight Rises, you know that Bane destroys Batman because Batman's old and he can't do it anymore, but he thinks he can, and Bane's like, I've got this guy, don't you worry about that. And yeah, so that's how it should be. And I thought he was portrayed very well, at least until the very end, but that's a topic for another day. So, all right, we kind of went through the aesthetics, again, kind of neon. What were your thoughts on the Batmobile this time around?
I liked it, but my heart is still with the Batman Forever one.
Yeah, I think this Batmobile, honestly, probably one of the worst ones. It morphed again, so it no longer has those wings on the sides like the original did, but it's got like the weird pointy part in the front, and then it's got two wings on the top, and it doesn't look good. It's not even really in the movie much, if I recall correctly.
No, it's not. I did have this one. I'm looking at the box art. I did have this toy also.
Okay. I never had
poor
it.
parents.
Right? Oh, man.
Jeez.
Yeah, you owe them an apology. It was okay. It was forgettable. Then they got these, I did have like these weird ice bat cycle type deals where it was like you could fit all three of them in there, and I don't even know what it was. It was some kind of weird ice vehicle that was, and I had the set, and it was fine. It was okay. But yeah, again, you could tell it was just obvious cash grab for toys here by the end with all the stuff that they introduced in the movies. And this was back then. I was almost 11 years old, and I was very keen on like, okay, come on, this is a bit obvious now.
What year did this come out?
This came out in 97.
Okay, so I was 11, maybe. Yeah, I was 11.
Yeah. Yeah, I
okay.
was turning 11.
Yeah, I was kind of getting out of the action figures around this time.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of the toys. I had a few because, again, same here. I wasn't doing much with like action figure type stuff. It was probably just more video games and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, do you want to
looking at the toys, and I don't really remember getting a lot of these. I see the Batmobile. I did get Batman and Robin Monopoly.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's the thing. There was a ton of merchandise. Yeah, so we'll make it official. Let's talk about merchandise. So the action figures. Do you want to know that there's two pieces of merchandise that I remember the most from this movie? Okay. One is the novelization of the movie. I actually read that cover to cover before I'd ever seen the movie. Yep, It was the novelization, and then it was Pop-Tarts.
Okay.
Do you remember Batman and Robin Pop-Tarts?
A little bit. Did they like? When you put the Pop-Tart into the toaster and it heat up to like the logo come across the icing or something?
No, it wasn't like that. They had like little sprinkles that were like Batman shaped. But every single character had their own flavor of Pop-Tarts. So Robin's was, Batman and Robin together were strawberry. Mr. Freeze was like cherry, but it had blue icing. And then Batgirls were blueberry.
Interesting.
And again, I hadn't seen the movies yet, so I didn't see this movie in theaters. I saw it in VHS. So all of these pictures I was seeing from the boxes of Pop-Tarts and the back of the novel, like that's how I was able to see this movie. I've still to this day, I've never seen a single trailer for this movie.
I don't think you need to.
I know that, but I'm just saying it just came out. Like I didn't know anything about it. I saw it, and actually that may be a good segue. No, we'll finish talking merchandise, and then I want to tell my Batman and Robin story because it's a tragedy. So, any other than like the toys and like food, any other merchandise you remember? You mentioned a coloring book. Anything else?
No, I mentioned Monopoly.
I'm sorry, Monopoly. Yeah,
it's okay.
I had a coloring book. Now that I think about it, yes, I did have the coloring book as well. So yeah, Monopoly. What was? I mean, do you remember anything about it as far as like what were the big properties?
I really don't. I found it when my parents were moving, and it was in pretty good condition. I was missing the pieces, but like the silver pieces, like the token pieces.
Yeah.
I don't remember too much about it. I do have by accident. It sounds like I'm going to go off topic for a split second, but
okay.
Poison Ivy is one of my more favorite Batman villains. Like I said, I like characters or villains with layers to it, not just the Joker. I've never relate to him. I hope nobody can relate to the Joker.
Right.
I've never been a fan of him, but I've always been a fan of Freeze and Ivy. And I know I've talked about the Arkham series on here before, and I try to get a figure from every Arkham game, and the only one I was able to get for the first game was Poison Ivy.
Okay.
And then they made like deluxe figures for Arkham City, which is my favorite out of the saga, and the only one I was able to get was Poison Ivy. So I'm like, well, maybe I'm just gonna be doing a Poison Ivy collection because I want to get something from the animated series. Instead of just randomly picking a Batman figure or somebody random, I'll get Poison Ivy, which I did. And then I was at a collectibles store in Massachusetts on vacation, and lo and behold, I'm like, oh, Batman and Robin figures in the box, and they have Poison Ivy. So I've kind of created a Poison Ivy collection, and this is the last piece I bought was last summer was of this movie, the original figures that they made. Very basic figure, nothing to write home about.
Nice. Okay. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, as far as action figures, it was beyond, I was getting a little old like you were, so we had some of the other stuff. Let's talk video games, because again, there was like a PlayStation 1 Batman and Robin video game. Have you ever played that?
No, I did not. I didn't even know it came out at the time.
Yeah, no, neither did I. I didn't have a PlayStation at the time, so I definitely wouldn't have seen it. But yeah, it was, I'm looking at screenshots of it, and it's apparently, from what I understand, it's terrible. So like, we're not missing much, but which I guess just kind of falls in line with the movie as a whole of like, it's terrible. But at least the movie is aware that it's terrible. The game was trying to be fun, it looks like, and it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. There was nothing fun about that from what I've read.
No, God, no. So, all right, listen, I've been holding on to this the entire show. Can I tell my Batman and Robin story?
Go for it.
Okay. So this was 1998. It must have been, because it was winter, and so the movie had already come out. And I'm grocery shopping with my mom at night. Sometimes she would go at night, and we were walking around the store. And this was Price Chopper, by the way. So if you live in the Northeast, you know Price Chopper. And we're walking by the bakery, and next to the bakery, they have a little shelf of VHS tapes that are on sale, right? Because that was the thing. You still see that now. You see the DVD kiosks next to the registers and whatnot. And I saw Batman and Robin in its full glory. And again, keep in mind, I had never seen the movie before. I wanted to watch it, but back then, you really didn't have a choice. If it left theaters, you're either buying it on VHS or you might have caught it on cable, and we didn't have cable yet, so I was not going to catch it on cable. So I saw this movie, and I said, Mom, I really want this movie. Can we please buy it? And it was probably like $20. And she said, no, this is ridiculous. You don't need a movie. I said, Mom, please, I need this movie. I need to watch this movie. And she says, no, we cannot afford it. Back then we didn't have a lot of money, hindsight, we were pretty, we were okay. We didn't live paycheck to paycheck as far as I know, but it was pretty rough at times. And so, we were on a tight budget, and I just kept begging. I mean, as an 11-year-old kid, I had basically a full-on temper tantrum in the middle of a grocery store. And was like, Mom, if you buy this, I'll never ask you for anything ever again. Did you ever do that with your parents, by the way? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
No,
I knew better.
So I was, Mom, I'll never ask you for anything ever again. And she's, no. So I was like, you hate me. You don't want me to watch good movies. And like, I laid such a guilt trip on her. And so she finally relented, and God only knows where she had to sacrifice for our family, like how many meals she didn't have to eat for herself so that she could afford this movie. Because again, in hindsight, I know how tight money must have been back then. She bought me the movie. We get home, and it's too late for me to watch. She said, no, you're going to bed. You can watch it tomorrow. It was Saturday the next day. You can watch it tomorrow. I said, okay. So I wake up. First thing I do, I have breakfast, my blueberry Batgirl Pop-Tarts, right? Because we still had them in the pantry, I'm sure. And I popped this bad boy in, and I watched the entire thing. And I didn't say it out loud, but I was like, this movie is a piece of shit. This movie sucks. I am so mad.
Did you pretend you liked it?
I had to, because the way I treated my mother the day before, I had to poke her face and be like, oh, this is great. I'm going to watch it again. So I watched it right afterwards. I rewound it.
Oh, you're such a liar.
And I watched it again. I swear to God, I watched it twice in a row.
Swear to me.
I watched it again because I couldn't let my mom know that I was such a stinker in the store for a movie that I hated as a kid.
Now you know what a Jet fan feels like.
There it is, reference number 2. Yep. So Mom, you're not listening to this because she doesn't listen to my podcast.
It's okay, get it off your chest. Apologize to Mom.
Mom, I am so sorry for the sacrifice you had to make for something that ended up really not being worth it, and for my behavior that now my children will do to me. So it's come full circle. Yep. But I know better. See, I know not to buy a really bad DVD on the shelf that they want, because they're probably not going to like it.
You know what you should do? You should buy your mom Batman and Robin on DVD for Mother's Day.
She probably don't even remember this, to be honest with you. I mean, she might, but
you should take this part of the show, put it on a USB drive, go buy Batman and Robin, and put the USB drive and Batman and Robin, wrap it up in wrapping paper, and in your Mother's Day card, Mom, listen to the file on the USB drive first.
Yeah.
And then open the gift.
I could do that. All right, I'll figure something out.
Yes.
Oh, I just felt so bad. Like, it's one thing to like, oh, I got you this movie. Oh, cool. I watched it. I didn't like it so much. But it's another thing entirely to basically throw all of my dignity on the floor along with my body in the middle of a grocery store and beg for a movie that was such trash that, like, even the dogs wouldn't sniff it. Like, it was just so bad. So anyway, that is my Batman and Robin story. I've been holding on to it for a very long time. And I'm sorry, Mom.
You should be.
Oh, man.
You turned out okay, though.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe. I host a podcast about growing up in the 90s, so take it for what it's worth.
Take it for what it's worth. So how about we end with this? Because you can't end on that note.
No, yeah.
So did you know that there was a sequel planned for Batman and Robin?
I did know it, but I want you to share the story.
So it's Batman Unchained was the
I didn't know about
sequel.
that one.
Was the planned sequel to Batman and Robin, written by Mark, I can't pronounce his last name, under the direction of Joel Schumacher. It was canceled at a negative reception of Batman and Robin. Some things imagery from the script were later used in Batman Begins. That I didn't know. Geez. I remember reading some like urban legends about this.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything?
So I don't remember Batman Unchained. I remember another Batman movie they had planned to make, though, called Batman Triumphant.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, I want you to Google that, and then I want you to go to Google Images and look at the bat symbol that they were going to use for that movie. And supposedly was going to have a return of Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Well, this one says this was supposed to be the Scarecrow in this one.
Yeah.
And people that were rumored to play or voice Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane, were Nicolas Cage, Jeff Goldblum, Steve Belushi, and Christopher Lloyd, which is interesting. I also read, again, I don't know if it's an urban legend, that Howard Stern was also in the running to play the Scarecrow.
Maybe.
Again, might be an urban legend. I don't know. Let me see.
Yeah, I never heard about that, so I can't say one way or the other.
But I do remember that there was supposed to be a sequel. So
interesting.
Didn't happen, though.
It didn't. And then one of my favorite trilogies came out a few years later, and all was right in the world as far as Batman goes. So before we wrap up on Batman in the 90s, I do want to give a couple of shout outs to other Batman movies that came out during the time, but they were animated. So Mask of the Phantasm, I would say one of the best Batman movies of all time. I'm sure you've seen Mask of the Phantasm, right? Yeah.
I have.
Amazing. Animated. It's based off the animated series, so if you love that, you'll love the movie. Highly recommend it. I also want to give a shout out to, and this might have been the early 2000s now that I think about it, but do you remember the Batman from the OnStar commercials?
No.
So
I legitimately have no idea what
after
you're
we get
about.
off here, I want you to go on YouTube and I want you to type in Batman OnStar. And I'm telling you right now, it's one of the best looking and sounding Batmans that was ever cast in real life. Like, unironically, one of the best portrayals of Batman that I've ever seen.
Really?
Yep, 100%. So I want you to go look that up. I want to say it's probably the 2000s. It was pre-Batman Begins, but it was when OnStar came. Remember OnStar, like that feature on your car, if you hit a button, if you got in a crash or whatever, they would like send out an ambulance to you or whatever. It was like back in the day. It was like a big thing.
Gotcha.
And so, but it's got the old Batmobile, the Keaton Batmobile. It's got Alfred. That was, I think it's the same Alfred. It's got different portrayals of Batman villains. I mean, it's a whole series. Like, you could look up the Batman OnStar commercials, and they've made them into a mini movie almost. So I want you to check that out, and it's going to blow your mind because, yeah, it's the best looking Batman I've seen.
Can I jump back for a second? Because we were talking about Batman, the sequel to Batman and Robin that didn't happen. What did you say you thought it was called?
Batman Triumphant. Yeah.
Okay, I got something up quick, and I'm going to jump through it. The 11 reasons this movie would have been good.
Okay.
So apparently Batgirl was not going to be in it at all.
Thank God. Okay.
Okay. It was... Apparently a lot of the script was used in Batman Begins about the Scarecrow. A lot.
So it was going to be an Origins movie.
Yep. They said it was going to go into how deep the Joker... basically how bad Batman 89 messed up Bruce Wayne. Because there's going to be hallucinations of the Joker. Actually, everybody would have made an appearance. And they said everybody, including Catwoman and Penguin, Two-Face, Jim Carrey. So it was going to be like a roll call of all of his villains, kind of tying everything together because a lot of people didn't realize that the last two were connected. Apparently, quickly, it's also Nightwing. Robin would be Nightwing in this movie. Okay. George Clooney was slated to come back. I don't know why they think that would have been a good thing.
Yeah, maybe we've had a chance for redemption. I don't know.
Nicolas Cage was the heavy favorite to be Scarecrow, and Nicolas Cage is kind of a whack job in a good way. I think he did a pretty good job as Ghost Rider. It's not for this movie,
that wasn't his fault though. I thought he was great in it.
Yep. It was going to have more of a tone of the Tim Burton movies.
Yep.
Which is why it was dropped. All right. Yep. They said Schumacher was going to go dark with it. He was going to go back to those routes. That's pretty much the same thing. That's his clickbait. Harley Quinn was going to be in it. That's number 2 because apparently everybody loves Harley Quinn. And then the Scarecrow is a great villain, which she is. So there you go.
Yes.
There's a quick rundown.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I would have been excited, but I do appreciate the direction they took it with Batman Begins because, again, it's one of the best Batman trilogies, movies, series, whatever you want to call it, of all time. So, thank God for small favors that Batman and Robin tanked so bad that they had to just totally shelve it for a few years to get us what we wanted with their Christopher Nolan films.
And deserved.
Yes. All right, man. Well, listen, I think that's going to wrap us up on 90s Batman movies. And, it was fun, man. I this was kind of spur of the moment where, this was all because we're going to go see Michael Keaton as Batman coming back once again in the new Flash movie, which comes out in June, I think, right? We're getting there. A couple months away.
I just want that whack job out of it.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, Ezra. Just give me the dude from the CW show and I'll be very happy.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. And if we can, maybe we'll do a review on it when it comes out.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for listening, guys. And make sure you're checking us out on YouTube. We talked about it earlier. Lou's been putting out some really great content for Power Rangers, if that's your thing. Going to be putting out some stuff around video games here pretty soon. I've got a special video planned if you're a Ninja Turtles fan, so be on the lookout for that. And if you have ideas for videos you want us to do, whether it's reviewing movies or games or talking about specific topics or things like that, let us know. You can either reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're on all of those. If you want to drop a comment on one of our YouTube videos, do that as well. Feel free. Also, make sure you check out our merchandise page. I've put out some cool T-shirts. If you want to help support the channel that way, you can. Would really appreciate that, actually, if you want to check those out. The link to the merch store should be in the description of this podcast. If you're going to be listening to this on YouTube, it should be up there as well. So really appreciate you guys listening, and make sure you let your friends know if you really like this show and you want to hear more of it. Let us know. And let them know, because I'm trying to grow this as much as possible, and I'm starting to run short of some ideas on what to talk about every week, but not really. I take that back. I've got some good ideas, but if there's specific things you want to hear about, let me know. With that, Lou, once again, thank you for coming on. A pleasure as always.
If you don't give Dan ideas, I'm going to take over, and we're just going to have a 3-hour session of how bad it is being a Jets fan.
For the love of God, we don't want that.
No, you don't want that. Or would it be the greatest show ever? Like the Patriot fans and the Steelers fans just point and laugh at us.
There it is. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Lou, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.